Hey, you. So I know that many of us, myself included, have been having trouble sleeping in these days. And I remember very fondly reading stories to my daughter as she went to sleep. And I love reading, I love being read to. So I thought I would record few stories for little people and the big people and the little people with big people inside. That's cool too. And the big people, little people inside. So tonight's story is actually a little of a combo big person, little person story. And I chose it because I know that a lot of us are worried these days. A lot to worry about. So if you're worried, maybe you're concerned about people you love, concerned about the world, or maybe you're concerned about someone who's sick, or maybe you are not feeling well yourself. This story is for you. So this little different story tonight is from Patrick McManus, Good Samaritan Strikes Again, and it is his story called Worry Box. You can already tell it's kind of a big person story, I'm just saying. Worry Box. The Worry Box. I have this theory that people possess a certain capacity for worry. No more, no less. It's as though a person has a little psychic box that he feels compelled to keep filled with worries. When one worry disappears from the box, he immediately replaces it with another worry, so that the box is always full. He's never short of worries. If a new crop of worries comes in, the person sorts through the box for the lesser worries and kicks them out, until he has enough room for the new worries. The lesser worries just lie around on the floor until there's room in the box again, and then they're put back in. They're welcomed by the worries that have been in the box all the time. Hey guys, good to have you back. Boy, you should have seen the duds that just left, and they had the nerve to call themselves worries. For a while, I worried that my worry theory was flawed. I was talking to an old gentleman who gives every indication that his worry box is empty. Ed's 93. Do you realize, I said to Ed the other day, hoping to worry him and thereby gain support for my theory, that this new federal budget deficit will add another third of $1 trillion to the national debt? If this keeps on, by the year 2000, we'll be about $5 billion in debt. How are we going to pay off the debt like that? Ed chuckled, tapped the ash off his cigar. Beats me, he said. But ain't my worry. Yeah, sure, I said, because you're an old geezer. But what about your great-grandchildren? They'll have to pay. Don't have any great-grandchildren. Got one that's fair to middling, but the rest ain't worth a dang. Serve the loafers right if they have to pay off the zillion-dollar debt. Put some grit into them. Well then, how about the banks and the S&Ls? They're dropping like flies. That has to worry you. Nope. Don't have any money. Here's a good one. Pollution. Pollution is eating holes in the ozone layer, and within 25 years... Okay, forget that worry. Let's see. There's a lot of new sexually transmitted diseases, of course, but I suppose you're in the low-risk group? Ain't none lower. Yeah, but suppose you went to a dentist who had a deadly disease and no teeth. Right. You don't have to worry about your hair catching on fire either. You could get burglarized, though. How about that? I ain't got nothing to burgle. I tried for another hour to worry Ed, but without success. He seemed pretty well to have knocked my worry theory in the head. I've got to leave now, I said irritably. Just remember, I'm picking you up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning to go fishing. Good, he said. Who's driving the boat, Smokey Joe? Joe can't make it. I'm driving the boat. Now that worries me. I was elated. My theory was still intact. Ed had only one teeny-weeny worry, but one big enough to fill his worry box. He just had a teeny-weeny box. I, on the other hand, have a very large worry box. My wife, Bun, is one of my major suppliers of worries. What'd you do with the checkbook? She asked me. The checkbook! Is that monster loose again? I imagine at that very moment an escaped convict is picking it up off the sidewalk. Maybe he'll forge my name and deplete our checking account of every last penny, and after he's exhausted all our funds buying dope, he will come to our house because the address is on the checks, and he and I will grapple with each other, and he will pull a knife and all. Oh, Bun will say. Oh, here's the checkbook in my purse, silly me. What's wrong with you? Nothing, I say, booting that worry out of my worry box, at least until the next time Bun asks. What'd you do with the checkbook? Bun's telephone technique is designed specifically to worry me. The phone rings. Bun picks it up. Hello? Yes? No. Me. One of the kids had done something bad with the car. Oh my gosh, how bad? Me. It's real bad. Otherwise the police wouldn't be calling. You never expect these things to happen to you. Me. I do. When can we see him? Me. Only during visiting hours, when he'll be wearing either a full body cast or an orange jumpsuit. So what is it now? I ask, steeling myself to deal with the horrible emergency. Ernie's garage. Ernie said he's fixed the car's oil leak with the 35-cent part. What's funny is that to install it, he had to disassemble the entire car. Isn't that amazing? Just for a 35-cent part? How lucky can you get? By the way, Ernie says he wants to talk to you about something when you get a chance. Ernie, the mechanic, wants to talk to me? I know what he wants. He wants my house in exchange for disassembling my car. That's what he wants. We're about to join the ranks of the homeless. You can see from this example that the old worry about the kid is immediately replaced by a new worry about becoming homeless. I used to pity the homeless, now I am one of them, and so on. The worry box is kept exactly full. Where Bun really excels in worry production for me is on camping trips. It's popularly thought that camping provides a wonderful way to escape from the stresses of modern city life. I myself think this. I can always tell it's time to head for the mountains when I start getting stress cramps in my eyelids. They're quite painful and cause me to go about for days with a startled, somewhat horrified expression. People coming toward me on the sidewalk look at me and then jerk their heads around to see what's sneaking up behind them. It's an embarrassment, not to mention a major social liability. Once I'm back in the mountains, though, and Bun and I set up our tent and roll out the sleeping bags, the stress cramps vanish from my eyelids. Soon I'm drifting into a deep and peaceful slumber, the fragrances of leaf mold and cedar boughs caressing my nostrils. It's nice. Was that you? Bun asks. No, probably just leaf mold. I mean that snuffling. Did you just snuffle? I don't think so, I reply, trying to recall the characteristics of a snuffle. Oh, well, go to sleep. It was probably just my imagination. Yeah, but maybe not, I think. Maybe something outside the tent snuffled. A bird wouldn't snuffle. Squirrels and chipmunks are too small to snuffle. Something would have to be pretty big to snuffle. A deer can make a sound similar to a snuffle, but not a true snuffle. Actually, the only animal I've ever heard to do a true snuffle is bear. For heaven's sake, what's wrong now? Bun asks. Eyelid cramps. Now here's an interesting aspect of my worry theory. Up until the point where Bunton mentions the snuffle, my worry box is neatly layered with worries about the children, work, money, illness, poverty, pestilence, environment, war, the checkbook, famine, etc., each patiently awaiting its turn for my attention. But the instant the snuffle is mentioned, and its source identified as bear, all those other worries are blasted right out of the box by the sudden inflation of the snuffle worry. War, poverty, pestilence, why, they couldn't even be shoehorned back into my worry box packed so tight with snuffle. As with most of my worries, the snuffle turned out to be nothing of consequence. The problem with a major worry, though, is sometimes it can produce the very condition we're worried about. When I was a kid, I would lie awake all night before the opening day of trout season, worrying that I wouldn't wake up at 4 o'clock so I could be the first one at the best hole on the creek. I kept checking the alarm clock to make sure it was still ticking. It had awakened me for every day for school, but it would be just like the treacherous machine to conk out the night before trout season. Every half hour, I checked the tomato can next to my bed to make sure my worms weren't suffocating. I got up several times to arrange my rod and tackle for a quick getaway. I checked my fishing clothes and boots to make sure they were all in order, a fairly easy task because I was wearing them. The night seemed endless. Finally, the clock ticked its way to 3:30. Great! I was going to make it. Closed my eyes in relief. The next time I opened them, it was 10:15. Ah! The stupid alarm didn't go off, I screamed at my mother. Yes, it did, but you were so exhausted you slept right through it. I thought if you were that tired, you needed sleep. Sleep! Sleep I needed to go fishing. Maybe there wouldn't be any fish left in the creek by the time I got there. I missed the best fishing time of the whole season, maybe. Why are you looking like that? Mom asked, glancing over her shoulder. Eyelid cramps. I was contemplating modification of my worry theory the morning I pulled up in front of Ed's cabin to take him fishing. My conversation with the old geezer had convinced me that as a person grows older, his worry box grows smaller. The box is still always full, but it doesn't require so many worries to fill it. By age 93, there's room for only one or two little dried-up worries in the box. I honked my horn. After 10 minutes or so, Ed opened the door of his cabin and headed down the walk. I ate a sandwich, drank a cup of coffee, read the sports page of the paper, and was thinking of taking a nap by the time he got to the car. He seemed in his usual good spirits. Why are you always so cheerful? I growled. Must be because you have so few worries. Nope, he said. It's because every morning this incredibly wonderful thing happens to me. I'm not sure I want to hear this, I said. But what's the incredibly wonderful thing? I wake up again. Dadgum if that don't make my day. So I guess that's why I put up with the old geezer. It takes so little to please him, and that's one less worry for me. I love you. Sleepy time. Good night.